Welcome, everyone, to another masterclass here on Mind Valley. I don't know how you stumbled upon this program, but I know why you're here. Like me, you're looking to become a better parent. Maybe you're a mom or maybe you're a dad, but you're one of those moms and one of those dads who understand that being a parent is one of the greatest blessings that life can give us. But it's a responsibility that requires us to also understand that we are less than perfect. We are not born amazing parents. Just because we were able to fulfill a biological function doesn't mean that we know it all. And so we're here to learn to be our best selves so we can give this version of our best selves to our children. Now, what's interesting about this particular set and where I am today is that we're actually filming this on Father's Day. That was purely coincidental. It just happened to be today, Sunday, Father's Day, that we got access to this amazing studio here in New York. And I woke up this morning to this message from my two children who are over in Europe. Ironically, I'm not actually with my kids because I'm here learning to be a better dad. And there's a part of me that feels a little bit guilty about that. But this is what my children sent me this morning.
Hello, happy Father's Day.
I love you, Daddy. You're the best.
Hello, happy Father's Day.
Do you guys love your daddy?
Yes.
Yes.
Hurt.
Daddy? Hayden?
Come back.
Meow. Meow.
So obviously you can see their mother got them to send that to me. I'm a divorced father, and with my ex, we try to do the best we can to raise our kids in a loving environment. And I'm fortunate to say I'm pretty close to my children. But this was the response I gave them to explain why I wasn't there on Father's Day, and I'm here with you all. Hi, Hayden, Eve. Thank you so much for the Father's Day message. I want to show you where I am right now. So I'm in New York, and this is a set. We are filming something over here, but I want to tell you what we are filming because it's really, really, really cool. So you know how when you go to school and you learn geography and you learn math and you learn history, so when I became your father, I never took any classes on being a good dad. And so what I'm here filming is actually a program for moms and dads on how we can be better at our job of being your mom and your dad. So I'm here really in dad school. I'm learning how to be a better father, and that's why I'm here. And I know I'm not with you this weekend. I'll see you next weekend, but I wanted you to know that I'm thinking of you. So thank you so much for the Father's Day message. And I'm here because I want to learn to be the best dad possible for you guys, because I love you guys. Mwah. See you soon. I always thought I was a great dad. And then this happened. I was at Mind Valley University in Tallinn, Estonia, and one of our guests on stage was Dr. Shefali. So she got on stage and I interviewed her. That interview was so good it ended up winning an award for the best interview on Mind Valley for 2018. But it was a particular moment during that interview that stunned me. I was talking to Shefali and I spoke about how I have this habit where when I come back from work, I will sit with my son Hayden and I will do something with him. I call it Daddy and Hayden time. And we might watch a documentary or we might open up an encyclopedia and read that encyclopedia together. And Shefali called me out on this. Specifically, she said this. There are times when I come back as a dad, when my kid was 7 and 8 and 9, and I would ensure that I would spend half an hour to 45 minutes one-on-one daddy time with him, and we'd watch a documentary or we'd read an encyclopedia. Then when he turned 9 and 10, he just told me he didn't want to do that, right? What he wants to do is maybe watch a movie on Netflix or play Minecraft with his friends. And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Should I really let him do that, or should I kind of pull him to play the chemistry set with me or to read an encyclopedia with me? Am I doing something wrong? In a way, I'm kind of relieved that he wants to do his own stuff because then I can do my own stuff. But I don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Well, first, since you're putting yourself out there so bravely, we'll use you as a little bit of an example. So, I can tease you.
I know.
So, when you said I spend time with my son, or when we spend time with our children, we're thinking it means that we're going to be together, spirit with spirit, just joining, just being, just chilling. But when you describe what you do with your son, it sounded very like effortful and purposeful. Chemistry set, I heard. Then I heard, what were the other things?
Reading an encyclopedia.
Reading an encyclopedia. And then what else? What was the third thing you said?
Watching a documentary.
Watching a documentary. I wonder why this kid now.
Oh God, I am so glad Hayden is not in the room. Thank God he went home. And that really struck me, because what she pointed out is that I was really imposing an idea of parenting onto my kid. It never occurred to me that my children were spending 7 to 8 hours in school and then extracurricular activities, learning and learning and learning. And by the time 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. rolls around, their last few hours of freedom before bedtime, maybe all they wanted to do was relax. But here I was, the dad who knew it all, the dad in control, and I would come back from work and force my kid to sit down with me and read an encyclopedia. And I thought I was doing something good. I learned from Shefali that day that I could ease up a bit, that it was perfectly okay for me to sit down with my child, Hayden, and maybe watch something on Netflix, or play a computer game, or play with toys, or toy soldiers, or watch a YouTube video. I didn't have to force him to go through another half hour of forced learning. And that really hit me. And it made me wonder, gosh, how much more do I need to learn? I stopped that encyclopedia habit with Hayden that day. And I committed that I was going to do so much more to learn to be a better dad and not just assume that I had it all figured out. That one-year journey led to where we are today, with Mind Valley now launching a parenting division. And our masterclass today is with that lady who kind of shook me awake, Dr. Shefali. So why is this important? If you look at the data today, something is off. Let me read you a couple of things that shocked me. Did you know that a study released in 2017 found that the number of kids who are admitted to hospital for thoughts of self-harm or suicide more than doubled between 2008 and 2015? Did you know that approximately 1 in every 4 to 5 children in America meet the criteria for mental disorder? And here's something that just made me realize how something is off in the way we are raising our children today. 31.9% of children under the age of 18 are diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Now keep in mind that all of this is happening as modern day parents are spending more and more and more time with our children. If you compare the amount of time fathers today spend with their kids versus fathers in the 70s, it's gone up dramatically. Yet, we are seeing that kids are not necessarily better off. Therefore, we can conclude that it's not so much the time that we are spending with our children, but what we are doing with this time. Is there something off about modern day parenting? These are some of the questions we're going to explore today. So why Shefali? Well, other than setting me straight with her wisdom and changing the way I raise my kids, she is brilliant and wonderful. There's a reason Oprah Winfrey said all of these things about Dr. Shefali.
In all my 25 years of The Oprah Show, I've never heard such revolutionary and spot-on advice. This is so big, we needed 2 shows. A new way of looking at parenting that will change your child's life and yours.
We could possibly end, Oprah, generations of emotional pain and suffering.
I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Are you all in for that? We're in for that.
Oprah had Shefali on her show 7 times. And she's written 3 groundbreaking books, including the New York Times bestseller, The Conscious Parent. She's got a PhD from Columbia. She merges Western psychology and Eastern philosophy. She's worked with thousands of families. But what is interesting about what she's going to share is that it's unconventional. Some of this stuff is going to hit you at your core because it is not what you learned from your parents, and it's so different from so many of the conventional parenting practices that we read about. It is rather a dramatic mindset shift on what it means to be a parent itself. It's not about just a tool or just a practice. It's a waking up of the idea of what is a mom and what is a dad and what does that responsibility mean to us as a soul here on planet Earth. So, a couple of incredible statements about Shefali from world leaders. Eckhart Tolle said, Dr. Shefali shows how the challenges of parenting can become a great opportunity for spiritual awakening. Becoming a fully conscious parent is the greatest gift you can give your child. Remember that. This is the greatest gift you can give your children. Michael Bernard Beckwith said, Dr. Shefali shines the light of wisdom on the most enlightened aspects of parenting. And these statements are already giving you a clue on where we're going to go with this. It's about respecting your kids as individuals in their own right. And understanding that you are not just here to teach your children. Your children are here to teach you. This shift changed the way I viewed myself as a father. And it was so dramatic, I knew I had to do everything I could to help take Dr. Shefali's work and bring it to a wider audience. So by the end of this class, you are going to learn some incredible new tools and practices that you can bring home to your children. And here's a tip. Directly below the video in which you're watching right now, you'll see a link to download a workbook. We provide these workbooks so that you can follow more easily. You have pre-written notes listed for you, and it will help you get the most out of this masterclass. And now, let's get started with our guest of the hour, Dr. Shefali. Shefali, welcome back to Mind Valley. So the last time we sat down together was on stage at Mind Valley University. I learned so much from you. It was transforming. So I can't wait to see what you're going to be sharing today.
I can't wait. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
You've got an amazing story, and I really want you to share with the audience where conscious parenting actually came from.
Oh my goodness. Well, like all amazing things, it came from my own pain and my own growth as a human being trying to parent. I had done my PhD. I was still completing it. I had been practicing meditation. I thought for sure I have this parenting thing down. Not like the other parents. I got this. And then, when you have the kid and you just don't know who this kid is and you have to get to know this kid, well, I went through those transformative experiences. And I still remember my daughter was around 3 years of age, and she just wasn't listening to me that day. Like the exorcist was in her, and she just decided to mess with me.
And this was, you were doing a PhD in child psychology?
In clinical psychology. So very
psychology.
traditional.
Right.
I was reading all the traditional books. And so that one day, I guess she had decided to become her own human being and had learned the word no and had an attitude and an opinion. And you know how the child goes from this little innocent being to like this raving lunatic? It was that day. That day, I saw my daughter change. And I couldn't believe it. Like all day long, she was saying no to me. She was having an attitude. And since I had been raised on the traditional paradigm of parenting, I was yelling at her all day. So yelling, and both of us were upset with each other. And then it just culminated at the 9th hour where, I said to her with froth fuming from my mouth, I said to her, listen to me, stop playing games with me, right? And she looked at me so innocently and she said, you want to play a game with me, Mommy? And I just saw myself out of body, that I was projecting all this adult stuff, like she was playing a game with me, she was manipulating me, she was purposely being this way, onto this innocent being. And I just paused and I realized something has to change within me. I mean, this is not the parent I wanted to be. I wanted to be bonded, I wanted to be connected, but yet I was this raging monster. And I think that night, I really took stock of myself and went deep inside my own being and curled up in shame and humiliation and looked in the mirror and asked myself, what is going on with you? And I think that was the birthing of this whole conscious parenting movement that I began writing about.
What you were doing wasn't in any way out of the ordinary.
Yeah,
Because all of us
exactly.
yell at our kids,
Exactly.
right? All of us discipline our kids. All of us have this classification of what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. My daughter is 5 years old, and the same thing, right? Like before I started studying your work, maybe about as recently as 18 months ago, there would be moments when I would yell at my precious,
Sure.
beautiful 3.5-year-old daughter as well. But you went through a massive paradigm shift.
Yeah, I went through a deep, unparalleled, I would call it spiritual revolution that night. And I realized that this is not about my child. I am not parenting my child who is a sovereign being. I am parenting from my unmet own ego. You know, it's all about me, 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 me. What I think she should do, which park I think we should play at. If she wants to go to the park on the left and I want to go to the park on the right, I'm going to yell at her. And the parenting books told me I was
That's
allowed
okay.
to. That's okay. And that's when I realized that the traditional model that we've been raising our children in is sneaky. You know, it gives us too much control and we run with it. And we walk over our children and do not honor that they are sovereign beings here to follow their own destiny.
And I've heard you say that word multiple times. Our children are sovereign beings. And I think that was the mindset shift you gave me that changed the way I parent. Let's continue down there.
Yeah, well, what do I mean by our children are sovereign beings? What I mean is that they are spirits, if you will, or their own essence, their own unique individual energies that are in the shape of this body that come through us. And because, you know, we biologically conceive them, we think that now we own them. And we think that they are ours, my child. And just there, this fallacy of believing that they are ours strips them of their sovereignty. And the parenting model that's currently being followed in the world says, yes, they're your children, raise your children the way you want, they're here to carry on your legacy, and you can do with them what you will. In fact, they give it a term, discipline, right? And it's the holy
Wow.
grail of parenting, right? What is the holy grail of parenting? Disciplining your kids. Think about it, what is discipline? It's supreme, unilateral control. Oh, the child forgot his backpack? Discipline the kid, which is yell at the kid, threaten the kid, shout at the kid. So when I began doing that in my own parenting, I don't know about you, but it really doesn't feel good. You know, it's a head trip and it's an ego trip, but the kid is feeling in the shambles of shame, you're in the shambles of incompetency and hopelessness, and there's a disconnection. So I took it upon myself to change the paradigm for myself. And then I began writing about it. I had no idea it would spread. I realized that I needed to see this as a spiritual awakening because I'm asleep right now. I'm under the spell of my ego. And unless I woke up, I would destroy my child. So I had to I threw away all the old parenting paradigm books I had, all of them, on discipline, on how to raise a successful kid and how to make your kid happy and discipline your kid this way or that way. I threw them all out and I just started fresh. And the way I started was with me, looking at me. What were my unmet needs that I was using my kid to fill? I was literally using my kid.
That's a powerful question. What are the unmet needs that we are using our kid to fill? And I guess so often when we parents are pushing our kid to get to an Ivy League university or pushing our kid to take martial arts class or take music class, we're really trying to fill one of our own unmet needs.
Well, when we don't attune to what our children need and we don't see them as the sovereign beings I was talking about and let them take the lead, which most of us don't do, what we end up doing is superimposing our wishes. You know, if we were good at something, the kid's got to do it. But guess what? If we weren't good at something, the kid really has to do it now. So they are there to be used, and they have to meet our expectations, our fantasies, our unmet expectations, our unmet fantasies. I mean, the pressure we put on our children from when they are yay high is tremendous, and they don't have a chance to develop.
This idea of conscious parenting was game-changing for me, right? And I thought I knew it all. I was the personal growth guy. I had 2 kids. My kids are doing good at school. They are pretty good kids. But I didn't realize how much I was still controlling them. For those of you who are watching this today, I can tell you that I'm so glad you're here because by the end of this class, you're going to learn some incredible concepts that these concepts made me uncomfortable at first, but they made me a better parent, and they really help create a better bond between me and my child. For example, one is that you will learn this concept of your kids as sovereign beings, and it just changes the way you communicate with them. The second one is you will see how your children can be a source of your growth. And it's not just that you are there to guide your children's growth. Now, when I started following some of the ideas from you, one of the coolest things I noticed is that it wasn't necessarily about me spending more time with my children. I certainly was no longer forcing them to read encyclopedias with me. We were spending the same amount of time, but that time was more quality, and there was more trust and connection between us. And what I would label bad behavior disappeared. Like this was one of the most radical things, if I can share. So in the past, I'd get really upset with my son if he stayed up past his bedtime and he conveniently forgot to go to bed at 9:30. Because I knew he would wake up to school and he'll be groggy, and then it's a bigger hassle for me dressing him and getting him out to school. And I would yell at him, Hayden, it is past 9:30, why the hell aren't you in bed, right? And that was called disciplining. Today I know that that isn't necessarily the best way. So I would have a dialogue with him. I'd say, Hayden, it's now 9:50. You're 20 minutes past your bedtime. We've spoken about sleep optimization. You do realize that you're going to get up a little bit groggy, right? What is your call? Do you want to still get your required hours of sleep for a 9-year-old? Or do you want to finish this episode that you're watching of SpongeBob SquarePants?
He's like, finish the episode.
Exactly. Right. And then I'd say, and you know that this means you're going to get 30 minutes less sleep. This is going to mean you're going to be a little bit groggy. You're okay with that? He'll go, yeah, I'm okay. I'm going to go to bed after this. And the conversation is over. And did he continue doing that? No. He actually started going to bed at 9:30. But it was amazing giving him the freedom to make that one decision and seeing how those ripples changed his entire life.
Yeah, but what you're saying is profound, Vishen. You know, so many things happen there. First, you changed from your mentality of wanting to control your kid to wanting to connect to your kid. And I think that's a fundamental difference between traditional parenting and conscious parenting. Traditional parenting is about fixing the kid, producing the kid, creating this masterpiece. And really, it's a control-based paradigm. And conscious parenting is always about connection before correction.
Connection before correction. I love that. Please continue.
So what that means is the parent has to commit to their overall mission. What is the overall mission here? Is connection, right? Every parent seeks and yearns and longs for connection. Every kid wants connection.
Oh my God. Okay, that is so profound.
But the traditional parenting paradigm tells us we're going to get connection, but they do it through correction. And correction can never get connection. Right?
You're right. Correction can never get connection. But you made me realize something else, right? If I go back 2 years ago, before looking at your work, I would have thought the greatest goal I would have for my children is get them into an Ivy League university.
Correct.
Right? And it's not just me. We've all read about the recent college admission scandal that happened in the US. Parents were bribing university officials to get their kids. It's all insane. But I realize now my greatest goal for my kid is connection. I want to be connected to them.
But you're right. The way the parenting paradigm is currently set, it is to raise a successful child. I mean, that is every parent's goal.
At the expense of connection, it's insane.
Right.
I can't believe that my goal for my kid was for them to graduate from an Ivy League university, because I didn't. I got close to Ivy League, but I got rejected.
Correct.
And I realized I really wanted them in the Ivy League because I didn't make it.
I can tell every parent out there watching that most of what they want for their child in the child's best interest, sadly, comes from their own brokenness.
Right.
And I saw this in my own self. All the things I couldn't do, learn ballet, ice skate, all the things I didn't do in India, I wanted her to do.
That's programmed, right? It's a means goal. What we really want, I think if you ask any parent, what would be your ideal scenario with your children when you are 70, right? And you're sitting there at Thanksgiving or at any family holiday, and it would be connection. Yet we forget all of this and we go for the bullshit. Let's get them to play a musical instrument. Let's make sure they're doing sports. Let's get them into
But it's
Ivy
not
League
our fault.
at the expense of connection.
Right, but it's not our fault. You know, we've been brainwashed by this parenting paradigm I'm talking about, by this traditional parenting paradigm that says, fix the kid, produce the kid, create this kid. So we think we're being good parents by controlling, brainwashing our children. You see, we were brainwashed.
Holy shit, it's like we as parents have been asleep for so long. Now I see why Oprah brought you on 7 frickin' times.
Yeah, I was asleep too. Until that epiphany that I had, when I realized that I'm completely raising my kid as if it's a mini me I'm raising, a little puppet that I get to, you know, put in my little show called the Shefali Show. And I had to snap out of it, and I had to dissolve my ego and heal myself so that I could present to my child as whole. So what you did with Hayden is you put your ego on the side and you stop labeling him. You see, that's another thing the traditional parenting paradigm does. It tells us who is a good kid and who is a bad kid. And all day long, we're like, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. And children are human beings. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. So when you walked into Hayden's room, you chose not to label him as bad, because the minute you label a kid bad, what happens next?
You get stressed out and you put a judgment on them.
And then you have to fix it.
Right.
And then you have to control them. And the parenting books say you can yell, scream, spank, punish, take
Send them
something
to a
away,
corner.
take them.
Right.
Yeah, we have 5 or 6 things we can do. And then there's a deep disconnect between parent and child. So what you decided to do is not call it good or bad. So you let go of control. You came with an open, conscious attunement to your child. You created a negotiation. You treated him like a sovereign being. And there was really no issue because you didn't have an issue, you see?
You're right. And what's funny is my kids don't have any discipline problems anymore. What I would have labeled bad in the past now is just them being human. Discipline problems disappeared. In fact, the word discipline is rarely used in my household anymore since I started conscious parenting. But it's radical. The shift is so dramatic, I cannot even recognize my old self as a parent, which is why I'm so excited to be bringing Shefali's ideas to Mind Valley, guys, because it's been transformative for me. I wanted to get this out to as many parents as possible, because when we can raise our children as souls who are having their own sovereign human experience, I think that is the greatest gift we can do for our kids. And it makes our life as parents so much better, and it makes our connection with our child so much better. And it's so easy to learn. I'm embarrassed to say that, you know, when I became a father, I never bothered to study parenting. I just assumed because I could complete a biological function and help my then wife produce a kid and birth this kid into the world, I knew it all. And because I'd once been a kid, I guess I just assumed that I could figure this stuff out. Never read a book on parenting.
When you got a dog,
12 months ago.
But when you got a dog, you learned about the dog.
We were talking about this. When I got a puppy, I bought 3 books on how to raise. Literally, one book was called How to Raise a Puppy.
Right.
I never once bought a book, How to Raise a Child.
Right.
And this is fascinating.
And this is the tragedy of it all, right? Parenting is the most sacred act we can ever endeavor to participate in. This journey with our children has the potential to awaken us like no other journey, but we're not prepared for it. The reason we're not prepared for it is because the traditional parenting paradigm says it's natural. And we realize then when we have the child how unnatural it is. And it should be unnatural. The biological part is natural. But the emotional attunement takes a lot of development, a lot of raising of your own consciousness. It's not easy to just connect to a being you've never met before. You have to learn some skills. And that's why I do the work I do, to teach the skills to connect to your children.
So the big question now is, how do you get started with conscious parenting? I think a great way, Shefali, is to start with the definition, okay? If you had to encapsulate it, what is conscious parenting?
It's hard to say in one or two sentences, but really conscious parenting is a paradigm shift from the traditional model of parenting. The traditional model says we need to raise the child. And the subtext of that is we get to fix the kid, produce the kid, and curate this perfect kid. And conscious parenting says we need to first raise ourselves.
But what about the kid? Who's
When-
raising the kid?
The parent who consciously becomes whole from within and understands that they cannot project their unmet needs on the kid raises the most self-worthy, self-esteemed, and strong, resilient kid possible.
So it's about really growing yourself,
Yes,
not growing your kids. But isn't that selfish?
right.
Isn't that just obsessed about me?
Well, it's obsessed about you in the most healthy, powerful way. When we take care of our own inner needs, when we meet our own inner expectations, when we complete our own wholes, H-O-L-E-S's, and become whole, W-H-O-L-E, then we don't use our children to fill our inner holes. And that's what 99.9% of us are doing. We have these gaping holes from our own childhood, and because we're unaware of them, because we're not conscious, because we're not attuned to our own healing, we use our children. I was using my kid to fill my inner holes. I had these big holes to feel significant, to feel worthy, to feel powerful, to feel confident. So I wanted my kid to fill those holes. I wanted to show off on Facebook, see what my kid is doing, see what medal my kid won, see which school my kid is going to.
So it's rather like seeing your children as your teachers. It's using your children as an opportunity to grow.
Yes, is seeing that these beings before us are teaching opportunities for us so we can raise ourselves. Instead of the other way, which is the traditional way, is seeing the kids as to be taught. How can we teach our children when we're empty from within? How can we fix our kids when we haven't fixed ourselves? How can we raise our children when we still have so many unmet needs from childhood? You know, when you shift in your way of thinking to this new way that you see your kids as your teachers, the main thing that does is dissolve your ego, that you are here to impose on them. When you begin to understand that they are here to teach you, then every moment becomes this conduit for this unprecedented spiritual growth. And the relationship that you create when you treat your child as a teacher is of deep connection. And that deep connection raises a resilient child. At the end of the day, we all want our children to feel worthy, to feel like they are seen, that they matter. How can we do that except through a deeply connected relationship? And in order for that relationship to be connected, it cannot be filled with the parent's ego.
So it's as if our children and the occasional stress that they give us, rather than impose our will upon them, we observe how this is a conduit to our growth.
Well, we also understand that because they are our teachers, they are here to show us something about ourselves in this moment. So I know every parent in their moments of conflict want to pull their hair out and just fix the problem, right? And send the kid to the room and just control the issue. But if we shift in our energy and see the moment before us as a teacher, then what begins to happen is we begin to understand, oh, I'm co-creating this moment with my kid. My kid and I are partners in this energy. It's not my kid who's bad, it's both of us.
This is a really deep spiritual concept. I mean, it's a very high philosophical idea. It's not something that you can just shift immediately. So let's actually go into some practical steps, okay, that parents can start implementing that might help create this shift. We want to share with you some key ideas that you can implement today with your children. So how do we begin?
So the first place to begin is to try to understand what do children need. And the way I figured it out is by going back to my own childhood and asking myself, what did I need from my parents that maybe I didn't get? And that's why I'm feeling this insignificance and this emptiness inside. Because I believe all of us adults were raised to a relative degree of unconsciousness, and that's why we are foraging the earth, looking for that sense of purpose and meaning from inside. And I really believe that every child wants to know the answer to 3 questions. And maybe people want to write this down. I believe the 3 pivotal questions that the child wants answers to are, the first one is, am I seen? Every child wants to be seen for who it is they are, for their essence, not for what they do, not for their achievements, not for their hairstyle, for just who they are in essence, unconditional acceptance. Then the child wants to know, am I worthy? And what that means is who I am worthy of your attention, worthy of your validation, worthy of your praise, just as who I am, no pressure to be anything else. And the third question is, do I matter? Am I of significance? Am I of importance? Do I matter in this home? Do I create an impact in your life and in the family's life? And I think if we parents became conscious of what children really need, and sometimes their behavior masks these needs and messes up how they communicate these needs, but underneath every behavior is a version of this request, of this need, of this question. Am I seen? Am I worthy? Do I matter? If we parents understood that behavior was really speaking to these needs, and we began contouring our responses to meet these needs, I truly believe that through this way of consciously parenting our children, we could literally evolve the planet. I believe conscious parenting is the answer to the epidemic we're seeing today on Earth in human suffering. It is the antidote to human suffering.
Wow, it's so beautiful. I started almost tearing up when you mentioned that, because it made me realize that the times I felt most connected to my kid, the time I felt that I was doing it right, was when I was truly seeing the child, when I was making them feel worthy of who they are. And it was during those moments when I really made them feel like they mattered. But I also realized how simple this is and how I forget it so often.
Because the traditional, the way that we've been doing it, the old way of parenting our children, has programmed us to have agendas for our children, to have schedules, to give them a prescription list. This is how to be successful, this is how to be worthy, this is how to belong. And we've forgotten that our children already are worthy, that they already are complete, that they're already whole. They don't have to become something to be whole or to be worthy of our attention. So the paradigm has to shift, and it begins from parents like you and me and you. Together, we need to shift how we see our children, and together we need to heal the planet.
So we understand the 3 questions. How do we let go of our agenda for our kids?
Yeah, the real daring way to let go of our agendas, because there's no easy way, is to understand that all that we've been putting on our children through these prescriptions, through this doing, through the mandate to be successful and happy and powerful, really comes from our fear. The current parenting paradigm that I'm trying to debunk is a fear-based paradigm. All that we do is to raise our children for the future. If our kid doesn't make their bed, we're like, oh my God, my kid is going to be homeless. If the kid forgets their homework, we're like, oh my God, my kid is going to be a drug dealer. We are constantly living in fear. And that's why we fill our children's lives with so much stuff, because we're terrified. What if they end up homeless? What if they're not so successful? What then? But this kind of parenting just makes us live in the future and we don't live in the present, right? So parents have to begin by looking at their fears. How is what I'm doing ruled by fear? And that takes a lot of courage because no parent wants to admit that they're ruled by fear.
Right.
They want to believe they're ruled by love, but really they're ruled by fear. You know, I can show you, for example, take the last time you were triggered. Think of a moment when you were really triggered by one of your kids.
So I can say that since I started applying some of these conscious parenting ideas, I can't remember a time I was triggered in the last 1 year. I honestly can't. But if I go back, I can remember several times. Did you want me to share
Yes,
a
yes.
particular moment? So
just tell me
So,
first
yeah, so-
the
so me
trigger.
and-
What was the trigger?
So the trigger was that I felt my son was bored of me. So this would be, he would have been like 9 or 10. I really wanted to do things with him that would educate him. And after a while, like sometimes I just felt he wasn't interested.
Okay, so you were triggered because Hayden wasn't interested in
He wasn't interested. I would say,
Daddy,
hey,
son
Hayden,
time.
it's Daddy Hayden time. And he's like, yeah. I'm
So-
like, oh, come on, aren't you excited?
Right.
He's like, yeah, okay.
Right, so you felt a sense of, you know, okay.
Because I was doing the chemistry experiment. He was just sitting there bored.
Right.
And I felt like, I'm a good dad. Like, I'm trying to make this fun.
Okay, so let's-
Why are you not being entertained by my brilliant chemistry experiments?
Yes, what is wrong with you, child? Yes, so you felt triggered because Hayden suddenly lost interest in
Right.
Daddy Hayden time. Okay.
Exactly.
So now do you want to go deeper and
Yes.
figure out what was underneath that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do this exercise with you, and people at home can do this exercise too. So take a trigger, and remember the last time you were triggered, and write it down. I was triggered because Samantha did not wear her shoes the right way, or Samantha did not wear the outfit I wanted her to wear. Whatever it was that your kid did, write a sentence on that. I was triggered because, okay? And now we're going to go to the second step.
Okay.
And do it with me at home. So the second step is to ask you to complete the sentence. I got triggered because Hayden wasn't interested in Daddy's son time anymore because...
Because I felt that I was wasting my time.
Okay, so you at home, write down why was that triggering you. Go to a level deeper. Now we're going to go to a level deeper with Vishen. I felt I was wasting my time because I
felt I was wasting my time because Hayden just wasn't interested.
Okay, so I'll explain later about what you're doing right now, but we're going to go one more step. So I felt triggered because I felt that Hayden wasn't really interested because...
I felt triggered that Hayden really wasn't interested because I was putting myself out there to be cool and to be fun and I bought him all of these like science kits and stuff, but he just wasn't into it.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a pause and I'm just going to demonstrate that so far you've just been saying that you've just been staying stuck at why you got triggered, and all your answers were all about Hayden.
Right.
You got triggered because Hayden. You got triggered because Hayden. You got triggered because I wanted to do something with Hayden. Okay, so now we're going to try and go even deeper.
Okay.
Let's try.
Gosh, I'm so glad Hayden is 11 and doesn't watch Mind Valley Masterclasses.
So, but this happens to all of us. You know, when I
Okay.
ask parents, why did you get triggered? I'm sure all of you at home are writing the same kind of thing. I got triggered because she. I got triggered because he. I got triggered
I
because
noticed that.
they.
I can see that now.
And we're in
Right.
a loop. You're just saying the same thing. And that's what we all do. The reason we do that is because we believe the other is the cause of our trigger. We have to go to a different place within our being, otherwise the dynamic will not shift. We'll just be stuck in a loop. Vishen is upset, Hayden is bored, and there's disconnection. In order to go to a deeper place, we have to ask deeper questions. So that's why I'm taking Vishen to a deeper place within himself. So let's try and go deeper, okay? You got triggered, I got triggered because Hayden just wasn't paying attention, he just wasn't interested because...
Because it made me feel uncool. It made me feel
Bingo.
that
You go.
that I was not entertaining, right? That I could hold an audience here watching a masterclass, but I couldn't keep my son's attention. And I guess that made me feel like a failure.
There you go. So what did you do differently right now compared to the other times?
It was about me.
And you got to the core of the trigger, and the core of the trigger is always our fear. You know, we've been conditioned to believe that the trigger is on the outside, you know, bad traffic, the bad boss.
Right. My trigger was, I was afraid I was boring to my son. I was afraid I was uncool to my son.
Right.
I was afraid that I couldn't entertain my son.
Right. You were afraid you weren't a good enough parent.
You're right. I see how it ties back to a fear. Gosh.
It always ties back to a fear. So parents at home can begin to see that the next time they're in conflict and the next time they're inflamed in a trigger, stop, pause, because the trigger isn't on the outside. The trigger is always on the inside. And the child is just setting the match to that inner wound. And your inner wound and every parent's inner wound is that we are not good enough. So see, at the end of the day, it's back to
You're right. It came back to I am not good enough.
Yeah.
Whew. So I hope that you guys got something out of that experience and out of my discomfort. But that was a really, really powerful lesson, Shefali. Thank you. Let's go on to the third key idea that we wanted to share, which is really about happiness.
Yeah. You know, everywhere I go, I ask parents, what is your greatest desire for your children? And they always say, I want my kids to be happy. Actually, they want their kid to be successful, but they say happy. And then I reveal to them that actually this desire for them to be happy is actually causing anxiety and stress. And they get confused. They think to themselves, how could wanting happiness cause anxiety and stress? Yet it is precisely our obsession with happiness, especially in Western cultures, that creates unhappiness. So let me explain. You know, whenever we chase happiness and we say, you know, we say to our child, be happy when the child is crying, what we're really communicating to the child is don't be what you're being right now. I don't accept what you're being right now. And the moment we're in resistance to the isness of the present moment, we actually create dysfunction. We actually create disconnection. Because imagine that kid who's having big feelings is being told, be happy, be happy, be happy. The kid wants to say, I want to feel what I want to feel. Can I feel what I want to feel?
Right.
Can I feel what I am naturally feeling without being judged? So you see, it sounds good to say I want my kid to be happy, but I have transformed that in conscious parenting and requested and challenged parents to not want happiness anymore, but instead to want the child to experience their present moment fully. If we take away the idea that we want happiness, then we're willing to accept that life is painful. Life cannot be without pain, and that's what happiness is about, non-pain. Life is full of ups and downs, and it's going to have pain. So instead of setting our children up for only wanting happy, happy feelings, let's set them up for wanting life as it is. And when we take off the pressure that life should be happy, then we begin to accept life as it is, and then we become friends with life, and it just takes off all that pressure to create a certain happy life.
So what do we do then when a kid might be sad or might be disappointed about something?
We need to honor where they're at. It's just like when you are sad or you are happy or you're angry and your friend tells you not to be what you are. All of us want to be honored for where we are. You see, big feelings scare us. We don't like uncomfortable feelings. None of us like to be uncomfortable. We want to erase it and deny it and fix it. But the beauty of feelings is that they become the portal for growth. You and I know that it's some of our most painful feelings that have led to our greatest transcendent growth. So it is with our children. You know, when they experience their tears, when they experience their frustrations, and we honor them and we show that they can, we give them the trust that they can, they actually become resilient.
It's almost like when we don't do that, we are invalidating their emotions.
And we're teaching them that they're not capable of containing them.
Right.
Big feelings are not something to be scared about.
Is there something you can share from your parenting experience where a situation like this happened?
You know, I remember when my daughter didn't get selected for her tennis team. She was in 6th grade and she didn't qualify. And I remember watching her cry and simply wanting to eradicate that pain. I wanted to go talk to the tennis instructor. I wanted to buy her 100 hours of tennis coaching. I wanted to fix her pain because watching her in pain was intolerable for me. She was actually just riding the waves of pain. She was just actually going through the motions of crying. Children are so good at that. They go through their feelings and then they come out of it. But because it's so intolerable for us, because it reminds us of all the times we didn't get selected on a team or didn't get invited to a party, we can't bear that pain of that memory. So we want to fix it in our children. So when we parents learn to sit with the pain that our children are going through, then we can teach them how to sit with the pain as well. You know, it's a very simple technique I teach. It's imagining yourself on a train station and the train is going by you. And in every compartment is the feeling, a different feeling in every compartment. But you don't step on the train. You just stand on the station and you watch the train go by. So you have to imagine yourself there, watching the train go by, watching the train of feelings go by one by one. And when you develop that capacity to just watch and be a witnesser, then the feelings don't overwhelm you. Or you're standing on the shores of an ocean and you're watching the waves and you're riding the wave as you would when you're surfing, but you're not going under the waves and you're not feeling overwhelmed by the waves. It's seeing yourself as separate from the feelings, really. You know, most of us feel overwhelmed because we become one with the feeling, right? The pain is us. We don't say, I'm feeling sad. We say, I am sad. So understanding that, no, we're not the feeling itself. We are just watching the feeling, or we're the witnesser of the feeling. I'm feeling sad, but I'm not sad. All of me is not sad. So when we teach our children that, but after we've learned it ourselves, then pain becomes really the portal for the greatest transformation. In the old paradigm, pain is meant to be fixed. Take away the pain, fix the pain, medicate the pain, control the pain. In conscious parenting, we teach the child through our own learning that we learn from the pain. The pain is a teacher, the pain is a friend, the pain is a portal for awakening.
Wow. I remember one example from my life. So this happened around 2 months ago. I was supposed to be spending time with Hayden. I was on a business trip. I came back. It was Sunday. I was supposed to be spending time with him, but I had so much to catch up on. I had visiting entrepreneurs visiting our home to pitch ideas and stuff. And next thing I know, 4 hours have passed and I'm not with Hayden. And that night I'm putting him to bed and he's visibly upset. And the old me would have said, Hayden, why are you upset? And then he would have said, because, you know, we didn't spend time together. And I would have said, but Hayden, you know I love you. You don't have to feel that way. You know, I wasn't expecting this thing to happen. We're gonna do it next week. I'm here for you. I would have justified it. But having gone through this awakening in my parenting, I said, yeah, Hayden, you're absolutely right. You have absolutely every right to be upset. And I, as your dad, am really sorry that this happened. Please let me know what I can do, but I want you to know you have every right to feel that.
Right.
And was that okay?
That's such a beautiful honoring of the present moment. Your child was expressing a feeling, and because you were comfortable in yourself, you were able to meet him where he was at. Now, were you uncomfortable, you would have just eradicated his whole experience.
And what I noticed is, by telling him it was okay to have that feeling, the feeling passed.
Well, it's like that wave, or it's like the train, it passes.
But if I had said, you don't need to feel that way because that's wrong, because I do not care about you,
right,
I know he would have woken up with that feeling still.
Well, and then he would have suppressed that feeling. That's what we all do. We suppress it, and then it shows up later on in an addiction or in resentment or in anger. I mean, that's the human adult experience.
I learned that it was about validating. the emotion and not invalidating it.
Right. It's allowing for the isness of the feeling to show up as it is, not letting it overwhelm us, not letting it scare us. But you were so confident and whole within yourself that you didn't make it personal.
Right.
Most people make it personal. You know, I was just thinking that we typically tell children, you know, they have to respect their elders, right?
Yes.
So when a child then is angry with an elder, say a child is complaining about their teacher, you know, I don't like the teacher's such a mean person, or the teacher's rude, we immediately feel like we haven't taught the child manners. We immediately feel that the child is breaking a sacred law, and we admonish the child. And what happens then is the child begins to shut down from us and not share their authentic feelings. So again, if we truly want to connect with our children, we need to learn how to allow them to feel their feelings. And we need to not take their feelings personally when they share their feelings with us.
Oh, that's beautifully said. We should not take their feelings personally when they share their feelings with us, but we honor them for feeling them.
Yes.
Anyway. So thank you so much, Shefali. So we went really deep in this masterclass, but I hope you guys got a taste of what it means to be a conscious parent. So let's do a quick recap. So what we have created with Shefali is the world's foremost program on parenting. What I mean by the world's foremost is, in terms of the budget involved in creating it, the psychologists and learning experts, the enabling technology, which is Mind Valley Quest, and it's called Conscious Parenting Mastery. Now what happens is, this is a 35-day program. At the end of the program, you as a parent go through a remarkable transformation. The first thing is awareness. You become aware of 7 toxic beliefs that we take on in our modern world that really hold our children back. And one by one, we remove these beliefs from you. For example, the belief of thinking of children as good or bad, the belief that you have to be in control, the belief that love is all you need, or the belief that you have to raise a successful kid, right? So you see a different way of viewing all of these things. Secondly, you learn how to raise the consciousness of your kids by raising the consciousness of yourself. And third, you learn transformative skills, the 5 most transformative techniques and practical skills of parenting. Now what happens is, at the end of this 35-day program, the whole way you approach your children shifts. Discipline no longer becomes necessary in your world. It moves from chaos to connection. And that really was what I experienced. It is a beautiful shift, but it's such a radical shift. I can no longer remember the old way. I can no longer want to go back to the old way. It's a shift and an awakening in your worldview, which is why Oprah said that you were probably one of the most transformative guests she ever put on the show. If you're interested in taking your parenting skills to the next level, I want you to pay attention, because it is crazy how we avoid educating ourselves as parents. So think about this for a second, right? The average American shells out $58,464 per child on a kid's education. The global average is $44,000. Can you guess how much the average parent actually pays on educating themselves to be a better parent? A fraction of that, less than 1%. So we give all of this money away to outside institutions to raise our kids. We never spend a dime actually educating ourselves. So what if you could get a session with Shefali, right? Shefali charges roughly $425 for a 45-minute session. Now, if you took 35 sessions with her of around 20 minutes each, it would add up to about $5,000. This program, you're literally getting Shefali coaching you 20 minutes every single day for 35 days, adding new dimensions and new dimensions and new dimensions to the way you parent. And if you were to do that one-on-one, you're looking at about $5,000. So in a moment, I want to tell you how the program is structured. But first, I want to share a couple of other incredible things that people have said about Shefali and how her methodologies help parents.
So my values conscious parenting quest has really made a significant difference and certainly impacted the way that I connect with my children on a daily basis, but also it has made huge shifts in the way that I reflect on how I was parented. So it has influenced the relationship that I have with both my parents and with my kids today. It's made significant shifts in paradigms for me. And you hear all the time that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, for me, having the ability to connect and resonate with fellow parents on this journey has really provided me with the support that you need to do some serious soul searching and to really dive deep into parenting. One of the unique things about this course as well is that it gives you the freedom to release chains, the chains of your past, the chains of your future, and also the chains of your present. So it's very unique in that manner.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vigarengen. I am a co-parent for a 4-year-old boy. Now, from the moment he was born, I realized that the parental journey is going to be a challenge, and also as a co-parent, some additional challenges. Now, some of the challenges I faced, I felt alone in. And it wasn't really until I came across Dr. Shefali and then embarking on this quest that I felt I was in a group of people I could really connect with, that I could kind of join this journey together with in a much deeper level. And there's so much in this quest, it's kind of difficult to just pinpoint the one big thing because there's so many big things. But what I would say, one of the initial significant shifts for me was with regards to fear. Just being aware of my own fears much more clearly, but also how I was projecting those fears onto my son. Making friends with my fears, being more comfortable with them, and also then being more conscious about this so that I would allow my son to be more free, to be him, not carrying my baggage from my own childhood onto him. So that in itself was really massive for me.
Many of you have heard of Marie Forleo. She said, Shefali is a genius. Her work is life-changing and absolutely essential for every parent. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, Dr. Shefali describes the importance of compassion in simple secular terms, discussing how we can learn to develop it from our relationship with our children. You actually got the Dalai Lama to, that's incredible. And so as you can see, this work is being credited by some of the world's leading luminaries. And I cannot wait to see what you're going to experience when you dive in. So at this point, you've learned a ton from this masterclass, but I want you to know that the journey is just beginning. At this point, you have two options. You can stop here and take some of the wisdom you learned and apply it into your parenting life, or you can go deeper. Now, think about it for a moment. Raising a kid is one of the most incredible opportunities we get as human beings, but it is such an important opportunity. Why is it that we don't actually invest in becoming the best parent we can be? For those of you who want to just stop here, that's great, I respect that. But if you want to go deeper, you're in for a massive shift in your life, and your kids are going to be so rewarded for it. Your lives and your connection between you and your children is going to be so different because you chose to go down this journey. And this journey isn't long. It's a 35-day program, less than 20 minutes a day. Something that in just over a month transforms the entire course of your life and the lives of your children. So I want you to remember this. There are parents who believe that they've just inherited the skills of parenting because they were blessed with being able to make a kid in the first place. That, I believe, in the modern world is bullshit. Our modern world is far too complex to just assume that you know it all. And our modern world is changing too fast to assume that what your parents did is the answer forward to your children. The world is changing rapidly. Generation to generation, we are evolving rapidly. And as a parent, you owe it to your kids to get educated and to learn the art of conscious parenting. The second thing is, time is of essence. Every year, your kids are getting older and older and older. And before you know it, they're going to be going off. And you're not going to be able to have as deep an influence on their lives then as you do now. While you still can have that influence, let's do it right. If you decide that you want to stop here, no problem. But for the sake of your kids, I hope you don't. Imagine what your future family gatherings will be like if you can fully raise conscious children and maintain the most beautiful, deep connection with them. Everything shifts. Imagine what life would be like if you were no longer triggered by your children, if you could empathize and understand them, if you could care for their deepest emotions, if discipline issues no longer came into being, if outdated models of parenting were cast out the window. Imagine what your family would be like. I've been on both sides of that coin, before I was a conscious parent and after I was a conscious parent. And I can tell you, it's a radical shift. And the connection level that you have with your children transforms, and I would never want to go back. And so I urge you to make the time to go on this journey to become the best parent you can be. So below this video, you'll see a chance to enroll in the Conscious Parenting Mastery Quest with Shefali guiding you. We want to make this a no-brainer. So as a thank you for investing this past hour watching this masterclass, we're going to give you a special unlock price. Remember, if you were to go through the same level of training with Shefali, you'd be paying upwards of $5,000. Here, the cost is significantly lower because of the economies of scale we get from being able to have thousands of students enroll at once. And what you ought to know about this program is that it's specifically designed to transform you using a methodology called Mind Valley Quest. Mind Valley Quest is the world's most advanced learning platform. It's being used by governments, by Fortune 500 companies, even by schooling systems in nations around the world. And the reason is because Mind Valley Quest uses unique filmmaking, behavioral psychology, and technology to actually not just teach you, but to transform you using 20-minute-a-day micro lessons. Every day, you learn new behaviors, you learn how to implement them, and you go through shifts in your identity. And the cool thing about it is, it's all on a convenient app and on Apple TV and on your smartphone and your desktop, all connected so you can learn on the go, whether you're commuting to work or you're on a treadmill or you're sitting in bed holding up your smartphone, going through Shefali's lesson of the day. And because each lesson is just 20 minutes, you can easily find the time to do this. One of the best things about being a parent is that we connect deeply with other parents. And the beautiful thing about this program is that it is a community learning model. That means the program kicks off on a specific day. The date is below, and thousands of parents will join together. They will start together, go through the program together, literally. Thousands of parents all across the world are on day 10 together, and day 15, and day 23. And in the end, on day 35, we all cross the finishing line together. We're all connected in an online community so we can support each other. So not only will you learn from Dr. Shefali, but you will learn from thousands of parents interacting, supporting, sharing tips and advice. And so many close friendships are made through this Quest model. So let me give you an idea of what the journey is like. We start on a Monday, and Mondays are about pattern disruption. So there are 5 weeks in the program. Every Monday, we will always start with debunking a deep-rooted pattern around parenting. Then Tuesday to Thursday is about belief shifts. On Tuesday to Thursday, we dig deeper, uncover the roots of old paradigms, and create irreversible shifts. Keyword being irreversible. Once your mind expands here, it never again shrinks back to its original size. Then we come to Friday. Fridays are about transformative skills. So each week there's a theme, right? And on Friday, we give you a skill to change a toxic behavior and replace it with an empowering one. But the best parts are the Saturdays and Sundays. These are when our kids are not at school. So Saturday and Sunday is called Integration Day. This is when we take some of this knowledge and you actually get to try it out on your kid. I guarantee you, your children are going to be so surprised, even after the first week, at how you come across with them. This will be one of the greatest gifts you give your children. Week 1 is what is conscious parenting and our roots of parenting. Will you share with us what you'll be covering?
Well, in that first week, I help parents understand the nuances of conscious parenting. They need to understand what it is, why it's different from the traditional model of parenting. And then I begin to take the parent to their own past patterns. You know, unless we uncover our own patterns, we'll just keep doing to our children what our parents did to us. So that first week takes the parent back into their own patterns, how their belief systems were created, and we begin to debunk them. We begin to become conscious of them. We begin to awaken to our own life patterns.
Then we come to week 2, changing the mindset, breaking through cultural archetypes. Tell us about that.
Well, a lot of our ways of parenting are deeply influenced by what culture tells us is good, is right, is appropriate. And these archetypes, you know, we have archetypes around everything, around beauty, happiness, wealth, belonging, worth. All these archetypes deeply obfuscate our connection with our children. They come between us and our children. So in this week, I help parents uncover their fears, their archetypal belief systems, and begin to free themselves of the ones that don't create connection. Many of these archetypes create disconnection. So we need to shed and release those that create disconnection and begin to foster the ones that create connection.
Thank you. And week 3 is about changing you, redefining your parenting.
Yeah, this is a really significant week, and I think parents will leave with concrete tools and skills. This week is all about expanding the emotional toolkit. You know, when I ask parents, look in your toolkit and tell me what tools you have in there, emotional tools. And most of them look in the toolkit and they're like, oops, only anger.
Don't know. Yes.
Only anger. And so conscious parenting expands the emotional toolkit to humor, compassion, gratitude, engagement, empathy. And so this week is really about giving parents concrete tools that can really shift their parenting and their connection.
Now, week 4, we come to the concept of changing the relationship with your child.
Yeah, most of the dysfunction in our relationships is caused because of parental overreactivity. We are overreactors. And the reason we're overreactors is because we don't know how to tolerate our feelings. So in this week, I really help parents shift from mindless reactivity to mindful feelings and mindful responses. This shift to get out of the reactive state into the more mindful feeling state is a profound shift. So this week is another important week.
And week 5 is about transforming discipline to mindful connection.
Ooh, we kept discipline for the last because it's the hardest belief system to crack. But I believe that by the time parents come to week 5, they're going to be ready to release their archaic belief systems around discipline and move away from blind control to deep empathic engagement.
Wow, it's so beautifully constructed. And that's one of the key features about this Quest methodology. We work with learning experience designers to create something that fully transforms you. It is not passive learning, but still, it's just 20 minutes a day. And it's spread out like that because when you spread out a program into 20 minutes a day, you're able to create deep behavioral shifts and identity shifts within an individual. So these programs on Quest are not about learning, they're about deep transformation, which is why they are structured over 35 days in 20-minute slices. And I want you to know, you don't even have to make up your mind right now. You can try this full program completely free for the first 10 days and then decide. And if you feel this isn't right for you, all you have to do is go to mindvalley.com/refund and refund yourself. We make it that easy. So you decide. And if you're on the fence, I want to urge you to ask yourself the following question. What is the cost of doing this versus the cost of continuing to parent unconsciously like everyone else? What is the cost not just to you, but to your child? Second, know that what you learn here won't just let you be a better parent. it'll make you a better human being. Shefali, you know that thing I learned on the emotions, right? And being able to validate people's emotions. I'll be able to apply that not just to Hayden, but to people all around my life, including adults. And it's been a game shifter. And you're gonna find the same thing as well. This program actually wakes you up and makes you a better human being. And if you're thinking, oh, I can just buy a ton of books on parenting, I want you to know that the Quest model is very different from listening to a podcast or a book. It's based on deep-rooted behavioral shifts, so it actually changes you as a human being. There's no true replacement for the Quest. The level of intimacy, immersion, and depth go way beyond a book. Check out this 90-second video of Quest to see just how powerful this human transformation platform is.
Many people think that conscious parenting is about never saying no to our kids, treating them like these fragile little statues in a closet and putting bubble wrap around them and only feeding them what they want. It's not about that. It's really about attuning with the child. What does the child need right now? Can I not power trip my child? Can I just not do things because that's the way parents do things? No, it's about something in between. It's about negotiating, it's about attuning, it's about engaging, it's about connecting with our children.
Shefali, any closing words from you?
Well, I'm so excited for the parents who are going to perhaps take this quest, because when they go through this day by day with a community of other parents, they begin to unpeel and unlayer all their own fears. They begin to heal their own emotional baggage. They begin to uncover their own patterns, and they begin to wake up. And the most beautiful outcome of this is that they begin to honor their children for who it is their children already are, and they begin to see their children as whole and complete and worthy. And so all that stress and anxiety to create worth and to create success and create happiness goes away. And now the parent and child can bond. So I'm excited for you. If you choose to do this quest with me, I would be honored to walk this journey with you toward your greatest awakening.
Thank you, Shefali.
Thank you.
So all the way below, you'll see an enrollment button. And remember, as a special thank you for spending the last hour with us, you get a special unlock discount. So scroll down below and enroll. And what we'll also do while you're scrolling is to share the answers to some frequently asked questions. So let's go through some of the most commonly asked questions about this program by people who are really interested. The first one is, can I enroll if I do not have children?
Oh, that is the best person to enroll in this quest, because the conscious parent really is one who is prepared to be a parent. So I encourage those who are thinking about having a child, or even those who are not interested in having a child, to go through this quest, because it's for every person who's had a parent. It's really about healing yourself, and if you've had a childhood, then we all need healing.
Now, the second question is, do I have to enroll with my spouse, or is it okay if one of us goes through this?
I always say that a conscious parent begins with one parent. So we absolutely can do this on our own. We don't need permission from our spouses, from our family members. The conscious parent is one who dares to start this journey on their own, and the one who realizes that if they change, that one person is a million.
That's amazing. But if you can do it with your spouse, that is the best way. Now, what if one parent does this and is becoming conscious, but the other parent, for whatever reason, is not into it? Will that disrupt the whole process?
So if one parent is on this path and the other isn't, it doesn't matter. That one parent can create exponential shifts in how they parent their children, and maybe the other partner will come on board when they see that there's greater connection with their children. So I really advise all parents, single, only one parent is on the journey but the other isn't, to do this. If only one is doing it but the other doesn't have time, it doesn't matter. If one parent changes in their consciousness, it has the capacity to change generations to come. So I encourage that parent to take that risk, to take that challenge, and get on the quest.
I see. Now, what if this question says, my children are already adults. What is the use of me enrolling in this quest?
Well, conscious parenting and this quest is really about evolving ourselves, no matter how old our children are. You know, even if they're adults, there is always room for greater connection. There's always room for greater bonding. So I encourage parents to not feel that conscious parenting is only for young children or for teenagers. It's really for yourself to connect with your children at all ages.
I see. And that was a big insight for me as well. This program is as much for yourself as it is for your children. Now, this question is interesting. Someone sent this in. I'm already a conscious parent. I have a great relationship with my kid. Do I still need this?
Conscious parenting is a journey. It's not a perfect destination. You can never be conscious enough. There's always room to grow. So if one is conscious, one understands that yeah, I can evolve deeper, I can grow deeper, I can make sure I'm fully prepared for all the challenges my kid may bring to me. So I encourage parents to not stop in their conscious parenting journey, but to keep going and to keep evolving.
Now, this question says, I'm already so busy as a parent. Can I really afford the time for this program?
Well, the busier you are, the more you need to do this, because conscious parenting actually relieves you of all the extra doing that you've been doing. You know, much of the doing we're doing comes out of our fear, out of our anxiety, out of the old way of parenting. So if you don't have time and you're looking for more time, if you're looking for more connection, then this is the program for you.
Now, this program, one of the things I want to stress is, after you do this program, it doesn't mean that you have to spend more time with your kid. I mean, if you do that, that's great. But I know that many parents are already fully optimized. What it means is that the time you spend with your kid is actually better for them, better for you, less stressful, and creating deeper connection.
Absolutely. It's not about the quantity, as everyone knows. It's about the quality,
It's about the quality.
intentionality, and the conscious presence with which you connect with your children.
So this is a fascinating question. Totally respect the person who asked. Will this help me rework on my relationship with my estranged teenage child?
Yes, it could potentially help realign relationships that have gone astray and reestablish lost connections. Now, is it a guarantee? Nothing is, but it will definitely give the parent tools and skills to rebuild that lost connection.
Next question. Will this program include meditation or reprogramming sessions that shift my beliefs at a subconscious level?
Yes, I truly believe that it's only when we learn to meditate and observe ourselves and enter quietude that we can shift our belief systems and reprogram our energies and our entire ways of being. So yes, there's a lot of meditation incorporated into the program, and I think that's the pivotal, powerful piece to this program, that it combines the Western psychological piece, but also the mindfulness piece.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that honestly is one of the biggest ways we can shift people through getting people to access altered states and form identity shifts and greater worldviews and meanings. So thank you so much for producing this program. This has been one of the biggest budget programs we've ever produced in Mindvalley. And I guess part of the reason is because I saw how much my life and my parenting shifted with my kids since you stepped onto the Mindvalley stage, and I became aware of your work, and I thank you so much for that. And I'm so excited and honored that we get to bring this to our now 10 million strong Mindvalley audience. So thank you, everyone. And I'm so looking forward to the world that we can create when we can take away the dysfunctional, damaged form of parenting that permeates 95% plus of households right now, and replace it with conscious parenting. And the fully formed, conscious adults of this next generation which are going to emerge in the world. So I cannot wait to see you in the program. And I want you to know that as a special bonus for those of you who are enrolling now, when you get into this program, Shefali will be making guest appearances in the community to teach and share insights as we go through the very first class of this quest. So click the enroll button. We'll see you on the next page. Now, I want to give you an idea of what happens when you enroll. When you click that button and put in your credit card information and enroll in the program, you will then get an email with full instructions. You can download the app, log in using Facebook or your Mindvalley login. It will know your email address, and it will activate the quest for you on the app. The app is available on the Apple Store or the Google Store. You can also access this program if you don't have a smartphone on your desktop. If you have an Apple TV, we have an Apple TV app where you can watch Shefali on the big screen in full glory. And it is that easy. The app is intelligent. It will ping and remind you every day to pursue the lessons. Many of us, when we wake up in the morning, we set aside time to exercise or meditate or make a healthy breakfast. It helps to set this 20 minutes during that morning time. So you stack it onto your breakfast or you stack it onto your morning meditation. In habit psychology, that's called habit stacking. You take something that you already do every day and you add another layer to it. So for example, I meditate every day. When I start this program, I'm simply going to add this 20 minutes after my meditation. And I know that at the end of 35 days, I'm going to see a massive transformation. And I also know that I'm doing it for my children. So it's easy to add on to your life, and it is easy to use. And if you find that 20 minutes is difficult, it's not a problem. Because it comes in an app, you can even listen to this as you're commuting to work. Just play it in your car and listen. And sometimes there might be some exercises you need to do. No worries, you can do that portion of the lesson for the day when you get home. So I look forward to seeing you in the program and seeing you as our student in Conscious Parenting. Take care. And thank you, Shefali, so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to see you in the quest where you and I will walk this journey toward your greater awakening and your greater connection to your children.
Valley's Conscious Parenting Quest has really made a significant difference, has really provided me with the support that you need to do some serious soul searching and to really dive deep into parenting.
Dr. Shefali just blew my mind.
Her teachings have changed my life, and they've been absolutely amazing in my life, my children's life, and I just can't say enough good things about her.
I can actually feel my parenting has completely turned around.
Instead of actually looking for strategies to relate better to my kids and to be a better parent, I actually have to heal my inner child first.
I realized with Dr. Shefali that even though I was trying to do everything right, I still was doing the same thing. I still was giving my daughter my dreams.
Embarking on this quest, that I felt I was in a group of people I could really connect with, and also then being more conscious about this so that I would allow my son to be more free, to be him, not carrying my baggage from my own childhood onto him.
From Dr. Shefali, I learned the effect of our early childhood traumas or behaviors or the things that we are exposed to, and learn to look at it from different perspectives.
I realized there was a better way to approach parenting from my own child.
This program has helped me uncover the fears and anger and frustration that has been passed on to me, and it does not belong to me. I was able to let go and become myself.
It was very eye-opening, and I hope all parents or all of us who have parents could take some lessons from it, which I did.
I invite all the parents to take the Mastery of Conscious Parenting by Dr. Shefali.
If you do this quest, you will feel like you're in a safe environment to explore these things and much more.
Thank you, Dr. Shefali.